Hello everyone, it's Kari from sunshineinmypocket.com. Today I'm bringing together a bunch of products to create an Alice shaker card. Now I have these keyholes already cut out from the die set from Missing Stamps, and I'm going to bring in a couple of other sets as well. This is the Postage Seal and Shaker collection, and I'm going to use the largest Postage die here. This is the Postage Edge die. So we'll bring that in, and then I've got this stamp set here. This is the Forest Path stamp set. I'm going to use a sentiment and also this little signpost. And then of course I'm bringing in Alice, and I'm going to use this one right here. And we'll put together a really fun shaker card. Now I've cut out the postage frame, and it also cuts out this inside A2 piece, or inside panel I should say. So what I'm going to do is use that, but first on the smallest keyhole that I've cut out here, I'm going to stamp on the sentiment and that little signpost. Now I've already inked up these keyholes with some sprays in a couple shades of blue, so I get a lighter and a darker tone. Once I get that stamped on, I'm going to set that aside to dry while I color up Alice. I'm bringing in some of my favorite blue shades to color her up, but I am going to darken her up a little bit later on because I want her to pop a little more from that background. So you can kind of see how I'm coloring her up here, just using 3 shades of blue right now, but like I say, I'll bring in some darker shades in a bit. For her hair, I'm going to bring in 3 other shades. I really like these lighter shades of yellow for her hair. So I've got Y21 right here, Y11, and Y00, I believe. I'm just going to blend those colors through. We're doing some very simple coloring today, not worrying too much about the different hair strands like I normally would, because there's going to be a lot going on this card. But there I will darken up some of the areas with the darkest shade and go back through and blend that through. Once I have her colored up, I'm going to use the coordinating dies to cut her out, and you can see I am darkening her up just a little bit more there with those blue shades. And again, I'll bring in some darker shades even later. So there I've got the coordinating dies, and I'll just use some low tack tape to tape that on and run it through my die cut machine. Now we've got a lot of our elements ready to go, and it's time to focus on the background. I'm going to ink up around the edges of the back keyhole. This is the one that's going to be behind that first one there. And this will give it even more definition. And so I just used a finger dauber and a smaller brush to darken up the edges using a darker blue. And this is really easy, and you'll see that it really does make it pop from that other one. So there we go. And you could even do the first one if you want to. Now for the background panel, this is the panel that was cut out from the inside of that postage frame. I'm going to use 3 shades of distress ink. I've got a yellow, a pink, and a blue, and I'll ink those on just to create a rainbow background. And I'm just going very slowly and starting off the panel, inking onto the panel, and inking into that yellow. So the yellow, I had it spread out further than I thought it needed to be, just so I could combine the colors to create even more colors. And here's the blue. I'll ink that on the other side there and have it come up into the yellow to create a green. And I'll come back in with more yellow even later on to blend more into that. Now that our background is done, I'm going to spray some water into my hand and just kind of drop it on into little droplets on this panel, and that will create some interest and some wicking away of that color. I'm just using a tissue to kind of blot that up, and I thought it needed a little more, so I did add a little more there. But now that that's done, we can fold our card base and start putting this all together. So I am placing that frame in place temporarily. I'm just going to hold it down with a little bit of low tack tape. And that way I can put the inside panel in perfectly where it needs to go. I'll take some liquid adhesive to glue this down and put that right in the center, just like this. Now I'm going to take away that frame because we're going to make a shaker card out of this. But I like putting down the background first. That way I know that I get it exactly where it needs to be so that I can put the frame exactly where that needs to be. So I have some acetate here. I'm just going to cut it down a little bit with my trimmer, and I'm going to make sure that it fits behind that frame. Looks pretty good here. And I'll use some liquid adhesive on the back of the frame and then put the acetate down on top of that. I'm going to use my magnets to adhere that down and give it plenty of time to dry because I definitely don't want my shaker to fall apart. So the trick is to definitely give it plenty of time. Don't rush this part. Now that that's dry, we can glue together our keyhole dies, and I'm going to add Alice to the top with a little foam adhesive to pop her up. And then we're going to add all of that onto the acetate, just with liquid adhesive again. And it's going to look good right about there. So you can see I've cut a few pieces of the hearts and keys from the mini die set, and these can be used inside your shaker as shaker bits. They can also be used as decoration on the front. Today I'm going to use them on the front, but I kind of missed an opportunity to use them inside as well, which was the original plan, but you're going to see that I forget to add them in. So I've got some thin strips of double thick adhesive. This is foam adhesive, and this is what I'm going to use around that frame to pop it up and leave plenty of room for our shaker pieces inside. I haven't removed the backer pieces to that, so I can just test it out first. And I've got a bunch of shaker pieces here, some older that I've had for lots of years, but some that I really wanted to use that were in the perfect shade of blue. So these are kind of like an Alice blue iridescent shaker, and these are beautiful in here. So I'm just testing them out, but you can see they do get kind of all over the place, which is why when you put your shaker together, you want to make sure that you have it adhered really well. If you want to, you could add foam tape around the inside of that keyhole die as well, so you only shake around the edges. But I decided I'm just going to make the entire front panel a shaker, and so I'm adding quite a few sequins to be able to do that. And this way it's going to shake all behind the whole front panel. Some of it you're not going to be able to see because of the keyhole die, but that's okay. So I'm just making sure to get it all inside the frame there, and that way when we tear off the backer adhesive, it all remains contained in the inside panel. So I'll remove that backer and then line it up carefully, put it on, and then make sure to press really well around all of the sides so none of those shaker pieces fall out. And look at that. That is really, really cool. All right, so here's the rest of the pieces here that I forgot to add, but that's why we're going to add them to the top. I've got a little letter here from the Lots of Letters mini die, and I'm going to add a little heart to that matches our Alice. And I'm just going to ink around the edges with that with a finger dauber here. That way it can stand out from that background. See that? And then I'm just going to audition a few of these pieces here. I decided that the dark blue was really taken away from the rest of my images and my shakers. So I went ahead and cut some more light blue here and a silver, and I'm going to use those instead. We'll save the dark blue for another time. So that's going to look good like that. And I'm just going to fuss with this just for a little bit until I get it just like I want. And I have some twine here that I'm going to tie in some mini bows, and I'm going to use those to look like they're tied around those lockets. And that's a pretty good size right there. So I'm just going to cut that off and we'll glue that to the top. I'll make one more mini bow for the locket on the bottom right, and that's going to look perfect right about there. Now we can glue down all of our little pieces. I'm going to use liquid adhesive, and for the twine I use a little liquid adhesive on the knot part, the center part of that as well, so it doesn't come untied. And then I'll glue it to the locket. And I'm going to use my reverse tweezers to hold that down so that it will dry exactly where I want it to. So I'm going to do that on both of them. Again, just put that down and glue it to the bottom right. And it's a good thing I have two reverse tweezers. They really come in handy for something like this. So now that that's all dry, I'm going to take this apart and show you the shaker card. Look how cute that is. Oh, I forgot to glue that little silver locket to the center there. So I'll just add that, and then let's shake this card around and it's done. So look at that. Beautiful. I love how the iridescent really shines through on the inside. And it was a pretty easy shaker to make. I like making them like this, where you put the shaker pieces down on the base first and then add the frame around it. You don't have to really try to line it up upside down or blindly. So that works out great for me. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and enjoy your crafting. I'll be back soon with more to share. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.